The Pacific Ocean is even bigger than we can imagine. Off the coast of Chile, if you were to drill a hole straight through the earth, you'd still come out in the Pacific Ocean on the other side. We're once again reminded that there are 5 oceans in the world, with the Pacific being the largest. It covers a staggering 165 million square kilometers. To put that into perspective, the total land area of our entire world is only 148 million square kilometers. This means that the Pacific Ocean alone is larger than all the mountains, deserts, forests and islands of our world combined. There are only a handful of islands in this vast ocean, and they're so small that they appear as mere dots compared to this magnificent sea. What's more, most of these islands have never been stepped on by humans. If someone were to get lost in the Pacific Ocean, the chances of finding them would be practically zero. But today, you're going to hear the incredible true story of a man who got lost in this Pacific Ocean on his small boat. And not just for a week or two, but for an astonishing 438 days. Yes, this person accidentally set a world record that probably no one would ever want to break. The longest time spent alone at sea. This record was set by Salvador Alvarenga, who spent 438 days in the ocean on a tiny 7-foot boat. But the question is, how did he manage to survive alone in this terrifying sea for 14 months? But before we get into that, let's find out why he ended up at sea. This story takes place in 2012 when a man named Jose Alvarenga was living in Costa Azul, a small village in Mexico. Jose was 36 years old at the time and was known to be an expert fisherman. On November 17, 2012, Jose set out on his small boat for a fishing trip with one of his companions. His plan was that he would spend only 30 hours in the sea. That is why there was not much luggage on his small boat. This 7-foot boat had only one engine and a refrigerator in which he used to store fish. Jose, who took only one day's food and drink with him, did Jose know that his next 438 days were going to be the worst days of his life? He went 120 kilometers away from Sahel in Mexico and laid his net in the sea. But at the same time, a terrible sea storm came there. To save his life, he left the fish net there and ran back towards Sahel, driving the boat in high speed for 6 hours. At 7 o'clock in the morning, he was now just 20 kilometers away from Sahel and he had started seeing his village. He had left this storm far away, but now his luck had left work. Just 20 kilometers from Sahel, the engine of his boat had failed. Now neither he had oars nor the sail controlling the direction of the boat. But he had a radio through which he sent his location to his boss and started waiting for his answer. But what happened after that is the disgusting dream of every fisherman. Yes, while waiting for the answer of his boss, the battery of his radio also answered. And now these two fishermen' contact with the outside world was over. Jose Alvarenga and his companion were still in this hobby that suddenly what happened, which was not at all. The strong winds had started pushing them back towards the sea, and what Sahil was seeing them gradually kept moving away from them. His boss also formed a search party and also found him in the Pacific Ocean. But now it was too late, because as the days passed, it was considered very difficult for Jaws and his companion to escape. 5 days had passed since this accident, and the winds had pushed Jaws' boat 450 kilometers away from Sahel. He had reached such a part of the sea where only water was seen in every direction. He knew that his boat was so small that it could not be spotted even from a distance. They had no flare gun, nor could they signal with smoke by starting a fire. Jose Alvarenga and his companion were well aware that their chance of survival was now less than 1%. The food and drink they had brought with them was already gone, so to fill their stomachs, they began catching birds that landed on their boat with their bare hands. They also started catching and eating raw fish that swam around the boat. Drinking seawater can be fatal, so they collected rainwater in plastic bottles floating in the sea. But when it didn't rain for days, they resorted to drinking the blood of fish and turtles they managed to catch to quench their thirst. Days turned into months, and the mental torture these two endured is hard for us to imagine. Eventually, Jose Alvarenga's companion couldn't bear the torture and committed suicide after 4 months. Now Jose had no one to talk to on this small boat and began living a solitary life in this vast ocean. On the map, Jose was estimated to be in a part of the Pacific Ocean considered one of the world's most isolated areas. Cargo ships rarely passed through this region. It had been more than 6 months since leaving the Mexican coast, and during this time, Jose had lost his companion, which left him extremely frustrated. One day, Jose spotted a cargo ship passing in the distant sea. It was the first sign of life he'd seen in 6 months, and the sight rekindled his hope for survival. Jose frantically signaled towards the cargo ship, but unfortunately, the crew failed to notice his tiny presence. In an instant, his renewed hopes for rescue were dashed once again. Can you imagine fighting for your life day after day in the middle of the ocean, only to finally see a chance at salvation and then have it ignore you and sail away? After 11 grueling months, Jose had traveled 8,000 kilometers on his small boat. His clothes were in tatters, and all he had left to protect himself from the relentless sun was a single undergarment. Best was saved. Finally, the time came when fortune smiled upon Joss on January 30th, 2014. That is, after a full 14 months, Joss saw coconuts floating in the water. He realized that an island was near where the coconuts were breaking from the trees and floating in the water. After a bit, he started seeing an island. He was scared that he might miss this island too. After 14 months, Joss stepped on land for the first time, and when he reached the island, he saw a small beach house with a local inside. After 438 days, Joss had contact with another person for the first time. This island is a remote island of the Marshall Islands. There was an island called Ibon Atoll, and this island is 11 kilometers away from his starting point. Also, that was his luck that he managed to reach near an island which was a small dot in the ocean. Otherwise, if Joss had missed this island too, then his next stop would have been in the Philippines, which is also 5,000 kilometers away from this island. Joss was sent back to his home from there, where another trouble surrounded him as soon as he arrived. Yes, on reaching back, Joss published a book called 438 Days. But Joss was accused of killing his partner, and a case was filed on him, the same partner who committed suicide according to Joss. Hope you guys will like and share this video. Thank you very much for your loving comments. See you in the next splendid video.